Hi guys, so today is Thursday and we're going to be continuing with our Byzantine Empire. Today's doc is called Constantinople and its emperors. So we're really going to go through, what was this capital city, who were the people who ran the empire, and what impact did they leave, on the world and on this empire. So if we look at the top, there are 5 parts to this document. Read the directions for each part to complete them. This document is due Friday at 4 p.m. So you have today, Thursday, and you have tomorrow, Friday, to complete this document. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of the whole document, just if that's all you're here for, and then I'm going to come back and really go step by step, so if you want to watch the whole video. So part 1, you're going to be doing a see, think, wonder. So you have an image. We've done these before. Obviously, this is a new picture. This is what Constantinople probably looked like. Obviously, we don't have real photos of it, but this is an artist drawing. So 2 things you see: what do you think this city was like, and a question you have. Then you're just going to watch a short ed puzzle that introduces you to the city. You don't actually have to write anything on that part. Then you're going to read, about these different emperors, and you're going to answer factual questions as you go. And the question is actually the same each time, just about the different emperors, right? So what were their contributions to the city? Part 4 down here is pretty simple. You're just taking your answers that you got in your reading and copying and pasting them down here. So whatever you put for question 1, you just copy and paste it. Question 2, copy and paste it. 3, 4, 5. You do not need to write anything new there. That's just so that it's easier for you to do part 5 down here, this final question, so that you have all of your information, right here. Because your part 5 is, which emperor do you think had the greatest impact on Constantinople and why? So you're going to be picking, out of these 5, who do you think had the biggest impact, had the greatest effect on Constantinople, on the Byzantine Empire, right? So using this chart to make your final choice, it only needs to be 1 sentence. So those are your 5 parts. Again, you have 2 days to complete this. So if that's kind of all you want to see in the read aloud, that's all you can do right now, that's fine. What I'm going to do now is actually go through each part step by step, do the reading, do some highlighting. Again, this is a 2-day document, so whenever you feel like you want to pause and come back tomorrow, I would just make a note of that, so leave yourself a comment or write it on the doc somewhere so I'm on minute 6.5 of the video of the read aloud. Okay, so part 1, again, the see, think, wonder of this Constantinople image. So write down 2 things that you see. Again, that's something that anybody could see just looking at it. Think of that like a factual. So why don't you pause, put your 2 things. Okay, your think, what do you think the city of Constantinople was like? So looking at this image, would you say, do you think it was successful? Do you think it was not successful? Did they have prosperity, peace, innovations? Did they not have those? Was it more like the Dark Ages in the Western Europe? What do you think it was like? So why don't you pause and put in, a full sentence there? What do you think it was like? Okay, now you're going to do 1 question you have about this image. So maybe, just what is this big thing in the middle? What body of water is this? What are these walls? Where are the ships going? Just any question you have, just 1. So take a minute, write in your question. Make sure it ends in a question mark. Okay. Part 2, you're going to watch this ed puzzle. So we're going to click on our link right here. It's going to bring us to ed puzzle. Again, make sure you have to be logged in to your Harrison account. You're going to see this is about a 2-minute video. There's no questions to answer, just to kind of introduce you to this city, which again, it was the capital of our Byzantine Empire, right? Of this eastern half of what used to be the Roman Empire, who now continued as their own separate empire for another 1,000 years. So why don't you pause my video, watch the ed puzzle, and when you're done with the ed puzzle, restart my video and we'll move on. Okay, so at this point, you should have finished up the video, right? That's about where it ends, looking at the Hagia Sophia there, one of those cathedrals. And let's go back and go to our part 3. So read the text below and answer the questions in complete sentences. So again, I'm going to do a read aloud. Again, I talked about each of these questions is going to be about their contributions to the city. So kind of what did they achieve? What impact did they have? So I'm going to do some highlighting as we go that might help us to answer that about each of the emperors. So starting at our top here, which is just going to be some background on the actual city itself, and then we're going to get into the actual emperors. Constantine was unsure where to locate his new Byzantine Empire capital. He debated putting it at the old capital of Rome. Constantine decided it was best to locate his new city at the site of Old Byzantium, claiming it to be a new Rome. The city had several advantages. It was closer to the geographic center of the empire. Since it was surrounded almost entirely by water, it was a peninsula, it could be easily defended. The location provided an excellent harbor, so for trading, thanks to the easy access to the Danube and the Euphrates rivers. New Rome eventually was renamed Constantinople, honoring its founder, Constantine. From the mid-5th century to the early 13th century CE, Constantinople was the largest and wealthiest city in Europe, right? So definitely, and looking at this image, hopefully that gave you that idea, right? This was a prosperous, innovative, successful place. Okay, Constantine the Great, and again, I'm going to do some highlighting of his achievements, his contributions as I go. Although Constantine kept some parts of the old city, much of it was recreated. The city had an old church, which Constantine converted into a square court, surrounded by a library and 2 shrines. There was also a new imperial palace. Besides a new forum, which was the market and meeting place, the city also had a large meeting hall that served as a market, stock exchange, and court of law. So he's made a lot of stuff, right? So he made, a square court. He made these shrines. I'm just going to start some highlighting. A large entertainment center for chariot races was also built, called the Hippodrome. Okay, that's another achievement. And if you notice, if we look back in our image, you might have asked that as a question. What was this? That's the Hippodrome. So that's where they would have chariot races, different events, similar to the Colosseum in Rome, right? But it was more for horse racing, which is why it's longer and goes around. Okay. One of Constantine's early concerns was to provide enough water for the city of Constantinople. Was how to provide enough water. The city needed a reliable water supply. There were enough aqueducts and tunnels to bring water into the city, but a lack of storage still existed, right? So they could get it there, but they didn't know how to store it, to keep it for when people needed it. To solve the problem, the Bernerbach cistern water tank was constructed in 330 CE. This held the water that was transported from the aqueducts and tunnels under the city, so it was ready for use whenever it was needed. So again, he's solving, this problem by building this water storage. Right, so think about if you've ever seen a big water tank that nowadays is usually like up high and has like the name of the city on it. This is like an underground version of that. Religion took on a new meaning in the empire. Although Constantine openly supported Christianity, historians doubt whether or not he truly ever became a Christian, waiting until his deathbed to convert. Constantine had both temples to pagan gods and several Christian churches built in Constantinople. Okay, so he built, some different temples. Constantinople would become the economic and cultural hub of the East and the center of both Greek classics and Christian ideals. Okay, so number 1, again, factual. What were Emperor Constantine's contributions to the city of Constantinople? So, look over what we highlighted and thinking about, what do you want to include down here? If you want to make a list, if you want to focus maybe on what you think was his biggest contribution, that's up to you. So why don't you pause this video, and take a minute to answer number 1. And when you're ready, you can restart the video. Okay, going to go into our second emperor here, Constantius II. In 337 CE, Emperor Constantine died, leaving his successors and the empire in turmoil. So nobody was really sure, right, who was going to take over. Constantius II defeated his brothers and other challengers and became the empire's sole emperor, so the only emperor. Constantius II enlarged the government. Okay, that's important. He built another cisterns, another water tank, and additional grain silos, which is for food storage, right? Like those things that are usually on the side of a barn, those big grain silos. Although some historians disagree, he is credited with building the first of the three Hagia Sophia churches, the Church of the Holy Wisdom, in 360 CE. Okay, so now you're going to answer number 2. What were Emperor Constantius II's contributions to the city of Constantinople? Again, use this highlighting, but put it in your own words. If you want to make it a list, focus on what you think was his biggest contribution. So pause to do that. Sorry. Okay, now we're going to look at a grandfather and a grandson who take over next. So Theodosius the Great and Theodosius II. Another important emperor was Theodosius the Great from 379 to 395 CE. He outlawed paganism, the worship of non-Christian gods, and made Christianity the official religion of the empire in 391 CE. So I would say that would be his contribution, right? Making Christianity the official religion. So he didn't really do too much. And that's going to be for your number 3. You're going to be thinking about him. His grandson, Theodosius II, from 408 to 450 CE, rebuilt the Hagia Sophia Church after it burned in a fire, established a university, and expanded the city's walls in 413 CE. The new walls were 40 feet high and 16 feet thick. So I'm going to highlight that part for him. So now you're going to answer number 3 and number 4, right? And make sure each paragraph's about the different one. So what did Theodosius the Great contribute to the city, and what were the contributions of Theodosius II? So again, use the highlighting, but put it in your own words. So why don't you pause this video to do 3 and 4. When you're ready, you can restart it. And here's some of the walls. Okay, we're going to go to Justinian now, who you're going to notice has a longer section because he had a lot of accomplishments. And below here, we're going to see an image of the Hagia Sophia, which we'll talk about. Emperor Justinian took power in the 6th century CE. Unlike the fallen western province of the Roman Empire, Justinian developed a centralized government where all power and decision-making was concentrated in one place. Okay, so this is really important here, right? Making that central government to make it stronger, to be long-lasting. Justinian not only had political control, he also had religious power. He appointed leaders of the Eastern Orthodox Church. Also, as emperor, he was considered Jesus's co-ruler on earth. I don't know if that's really a contribution to the city. If you want to highlight it, you can. I'm not going to because I think he did more kind of concrete things. At the core of Justinian's goals as a leader was reestablishing the greatness of the Roman Empire. He tried to do it in 3 ways. So these are probably going to be 3 accomplishments. First, he engaged in several battles to recapture the land lost to invaders during the decline of the Roman Empire, right? So he goes out and he retakes this land. Second, he rebuilt the capital city of Constantinople after it had been damaged in riots and a fire, right? So he rebuilds this capital city. Third, and most memorable, is he created Justinian's Code. Okay, so I'm going to highlight that. The rest of this is going to talk about Justinian's Code. If you want to highlight all of it, you can. I'm not going to, just to kind of keep our highlighting down, but it's going to explain it. This set of laws included rules on marriage, slavery, property ownership, women's rights, and criminal justice. Justinian used the law to unify his empire under his control and provide a sense of stability for his people. I am going to highlight that part because I think that shows how important the set of laws was. Over the centuries, it became the basis of different legal systems in Europe. Emperor Justinian also made a number of administrative reforms, tightening control of both the provinces and tax collection, right? So he kind of made that a little stronger, made sure they were getting their money from the different citizens around the empire. Justinian began the construction of a new church, a new Hagia Sophia. So he also built Hagia Sophia. Over 10,000 workers took almost 6 years to build the beautiful new church. And this is the one that has survived, to today. It's a really famous landmark. It's what we now call Istanbul in Turkey is where you would go to visit that. So number 5, again, Justinian has kind of a lot more contributions. So if you want to make a list, if you want to pick, a couple to focus on, ones that you think are most important, that's up to you. So why don't you pause my video and answer number 5. What were Emperor Justinian's contributions to the city of Constantinople? Okay, part 4 here. And again, we talked about it a little bit in the beginning. You're going to complete this chart based on the questions you have already answered. So copy and paste your answers down here so they are all in one place to help you with part 5. You do not need to write anything new. So all you're going to be doing here, going up, whatever you wrote for number 1, obviously you're going to have an answer here. You're going to copy it, bring it down to the chart, right? Paste it down here. So paste it down there. Whatever you have for number 2, copy it, Control or Command C or right click copy, and then paste it, Control or Command B or right click paste for each of them. So why don't you go through and do that? Again, you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, just copying and pasting your answers down here. So why don't you pause and do that? Okay, part 5, and this is why we wanted it all to be in this one chart to make it easier for you to make your choice down here. Complete the final question below in at least one complete sentence. Which emperor do you think had the greatest impact on the city of Constantinople, and why? So you're thinking about, out of these 5 emperors who all did things, different things that were all good for the city, which one do you think had the greatest impact, right? If we notice, this is a debatable question, so there's no right or wrong answer. You're just choosing, and explaining why in your own words. So use this chart to help you make that choice. Okay? So, if you want to pause the video, do your answer for number 5. Okay, if you've done your answer number 5 in a complete sentence, you've now completed this document. Remember, this is Thursday and Friday's classwork, so turn it in whenever you're done. If you're watching the end of this video, you finished and it's Thursday, just turn it in. If it's Friday and you just finished, turn it in. Whatever the case may be. On Friday, you're also going to have a quizzes for this week, so make sure you're on the lookout for that. And it's going to cover the Byzantine Empire. So that reading we did Monday, Tuesday, the Ed puzzle, and then also, this document about the emperors. Okay, so make sure you're looking back at these to help you with your 3 tries on that quizzes. Okay, other than that, have a very good weekend, and we will see you next week.